I'd like to welcome everybody to the Coaches in the Mouth pod. This is Coach Jeff Williams, along with Coach Bray Cook and the Mouth Brent Bender. Guys, we're sitting here live in Pea Ridge, Arkansas. Got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
We've got a huge guest this week, one of the top coaches in the college football and the head coach Florida State, Coach Mike Norvell. Coach, welcome to the show.
Man, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a little while, but definitely honored to get a chance to visit you guys.
Well, you've been busy. I mean, what are you doing this time of year? We talked to Coach Pittman. I mean, you're got guys official visiting, everything at Florida State. Y'all come off, and we'll get into a phenomenal year. Kind of disappointing at the end, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. What are you doing right now? It's June 3rd here. I mean, what are you doing?
So
take time talking to us.
Yeah, we started our summer program there last week. So we had a good first week. One of the things with some of the changes of with the NCAA, now we can be around our guys, kind of have a little bit modified OTAs. So you had a couple of great workouts last week. You try to be around them as much as possible, coming off once we got out of spring ball, they got a few weeks off, but it was good to jump back into it last week with them, and had official visits this past weekend. And, now it's just a dead sprint through the month of June, whether it's recruiting, you're spending time with our guys, different camps that we're going to be hosting, and, just trying to put it all together before we get a little bit of a breath before we start back with fall camp coming here in July. We play week 0, so everything for us has moved up a week. So it is definitely a great sense of urgency in all things, but just a lot of recruiting and then trying to put things together for our players as they're in their summer workouts.
Well, and you've had a phenomenal career, and we're going to get into it, go back a little bit. A lot of connections to Arkansas, obviously playing at UCA, and we're going to get into that. But, you grew up in Arlington, Texas, and, the Dallas area. You graduated there, played for a great coach and Mike Barber, former Oiler standout player for the Houston Oilers back in the day. And what was interesting in doing some research, I didn't know this. You took a year off before you started going into college football, and you took off going to Louisiana Tech. Talk to us a little bit about your mindset, about that part of it, taking a year off, before walking on as a walk-on at Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, I was a really young senior. I was 16 years old going into my senior year, and I love playing football. I mean, I've played or coached since I was 5 years old, and this was my life. I mean, I was fortunate to have great coaches coming up, from my Pee Wee coaches, playing youth football, all the way up, through high school, and I knew I wanted to coach, and I knew I wanted to have an opportunity to get a chance to play college football at the time coming out. I think I was 140 pounds going into my senior year. So I wasn't the biggest guy. But so I knew I was going to have to grow and get bigger. So towards the end of my senior season, I talked to my coaching staff, I talked to the school, and I was able to get, clearance to be able to come back for another year in high school. So I was able to basically delay my graduation, but my eligibility was up. And so, my coaches, we basically put together a plan where I was going to train in the mornings. I was going to do everything I could to work, to gain weight, to get stronger, to do the things necessary to be able to open a door to play college football at the end. But during that time, I was also able to coach. So I was the junior high offensive coordinator. I was able to be, the assistant, receiver and defensive back coach there. I guess that next year. And I mean, just what a wonderful experience for me. And as one thing that I will always remember that, kind of gave me a different perspective throughout my playing career of what it is to teach and to be able to connect and to really, also, bridge the gap from a guy that was just playing to now getting a chance to coach, guys that I was just a classmate with, and still guys I was going to school with, there that last year. But I thought it was just such a pivotal, point in my life, and you just really helped me kind of mature. And I was waking up, I was in the weight room by 5:30 every morning. I was doing the protein shakes, doing everything I could to get bigger, stronger, faster. And I was fortunate to get an opportunity and to go have a collegiate career there afterwards. But I still always point back to that. It was really my first coaching experience, and man, it was really a special year for me.
Well, and that is because you're sitting there coaching people that, you just played with. So it is a unique situation. You go on to Louisiana Tech. I mean, you talk to us a little bit. How'd you pick there? Of course, back then they were one of the first ones. You were a receiver, spread open. I mean, wide open offense, spread offense. what was the attraction there? You know, Sonny, I mean, they had a great staff there too at that time.
Well, and Mike Barber, my high school head coach, played at Louisiana Tech. He's one of the great legends
Yeah.
there. He was an All-American. So I had been there multiple times going through back to when Gary Croton used to be the head coach there. They were throwing the ball around all over the field, and I had an opportunity to go and walk on, and they just had a new coaching change. Jack McNeil was the head coach. Obviously when I came in, it was a wide open offense, no huddle, kind of doing a lot of different things. But Clint Conk, who was at UCA, was actually a part of every time that I would go down work a camp or go to Ruston. He had been there, and then he had got the UCA job the year that I was coming in, and so he wasn't there that first year, but he had a relationship with a lot of guys on the team, and that first year I went in, I redshirted, really was a good year for me, and built some great relationships. Just kind of after that year, it was kind of I was looking for a different opportunity, and there was about 7, 8 guys on the team, I think, that transferred and actually went up to UCA, and went down a level, to have an opportunity, and I still went into UCA that next year. I'd had a relationship with Coach Conk, and kind of came in, no promises, just opportunity to work, and I came to UCA as a walk on because I didn't have really any film from it would have been 2 years prior. I practiced, I trained, I'd done all the things that there at Louisiana Tech, but I came into UCA as a walk-on. And it was one of those things that he told me you'd get an opportunity to go kind of prove yourself. And I was fortunate. I came in the spring. UCA was returning every a receiver from the past year, but I was able to find myself into a starting position there that my freshman year, and kind of the rest is history. Just always grateful for Coach Conk and his staff to give me a chance, and it was just one of the best decisions I could have ever made, because I love Conway, I loved UCA, and it was a great time that I got to experience there.
Well, they also had a good time with you also because you left there as all-time leading receiving. You hold all kinds of records too, so they were probably happy to get you also during your playing career there. And you played with a lot of great people, and y'all went on, made a good run in the playoffs your senior year, won the Gulf South Conference. You had a great career. Let's just turn into the coaching part. So you're sitting there at UCA as a GA. It's really first time I ever met you. I'm sitting in the office trying to figure out how to beat the 3-3 stack, and I didn't know Mike from anybody. I didn't know he played there, and Mike's telling me all the stuff they're doing against it, and took a lot of stuff. That's the first time I ever met you. But you go on to GA there at UCA, and then you're there for a year. Well, a lot of great coaches you played for and coached with there in your time GA in there. Then all of a sudden, and there's some mixed stories going out here. You go to Tulsa, okay? We had Rhett Lashley on. He said pretty much, he wasn't going. And there's Mike Norvell sitting in Shiloh Christian trying to learn Gus's stuff. And then Don Strubing's, he also says his claim to fame is also getting you there too. Talk to us a little bit, leaving UCA where you knew Coach Conk and that program. Of course, you knew about Coach Malzahn going to Tulsa. What's the true story out there and how all that worked out?
Don Strubing played as big a role as anybody. And, Don, I got to meet when I went to UCA, and, Don had just left. He went up to Springdale, working with Coach Malzahn, and, was able to build a relationship with him over the years. And, he'd come back, and he'd come to UCA to see us, to kind of to stay in touch. Ben Ferris, who played for Gus there at Springdale, ended up being my roommate, throughout my college years. So I'd actually gone up to Springdale one time and met Gus, but really, he couldn't know me from anybody. But when I finished playing at UCA, I became the GA. Was fortunate. I was coaching H-backs. Got a chance to work with assist with receivers, different things like that. And just out of the blue, Don Strubing gave me a phone call, and he said that Gus had reached out to him right after he took the Tulsa OC job, and Brett wasn't going, so he was needing a GA. And, Don asked me if I'd be interested. And, obviously I had a lot of respect for Gus and, just what he had done and, all those things. And so it got me an interview. And, I got a chance to go over and sit down with Gus. And he was fortunate, I interviewed. I didn't get off to the job when I was there. So I guess I didn't do that good of a job. But you told me, as a few weeks passed, I ended up getting an opportunity. I remember it was I got hired. I want to say it was on a Friday, and the next Tuesday we were starting spring practice at Tulsa, and so I drove up to Springdale. We met at Shiloh Christian. Rhett met me. We were all three there together, and Gus has basically told Rhett, "You got to teach him what to do." And I mean, and so Rhett gave me this big playbook, and trying to Gus had part of the interview process. Gus asked me if I'd ever signaled, and just because he needed somebody that could signal, and I mean, I can't say that I lied to him, but I didn't tell him the full truth. Cause like, yes, sir, absolutely, I'll be the best signaler in the world. Now, I just wanted the job, so I was going to do whatever needed to be done. But I sat there and I promise you, I didn't sleep for that entire weekend. I was just studying the signals, studying the plays, trying to get the best sense of how I could hit the ground running, and to be able to help and kind of make the best impression and impact that I could. And by that Tuesday practice, I was ready to go. And man, it was just a great experience. I still tell Rhett, man, he was part of opening that door. I mean, obviously every decision you make, not only does it impact you, but obviously it's always going to impact others. And Rhett's done a great job through his coaching career, but by him choosing not to go at that time, it really gave me a path. And Gus, like I said, I didn't really know him from anybody other than just respect of who he was and what he did. But man, it was a wonderful experience for me, and to kind of learn different elements. I played in a no huddle system, but never at tempo, and just different ways to communicate, different ways to be able to implement that into an offense. It was, I mean, it was really special for my coaching career. And, Gus and I are still really close to this day. And, I always look back to those 2 years. I mean, it was really, really special. And then, when he left and went to Auburn, Coach Todd Graham, who was the head coach there, you had the number one offense in the country back-to-back years, and you lose your offensive coordinator. And, he promoted, Herb Hand, that was, there at the time as a co-coordinator, and he hired me, as a full-time coach. And that's something that I look back at. And, probably at the time, I was grateful for that opportunity, but didn't realize just how big that was, to be a GA, to get promoted, that to have that first job being a Division I assistant. I mean, it was really special, and, forever grateful, as that kind of put me on my path to where I am today.
Well, it's funny, and let's go through this period. You get hired full time, and I had a buddy that worked with you kind of in the middle of all this, and all of a sudden, in a 3 year period or 2.5 year period, it goes a little crazy. You're at Tulsa, go to Pittsburgh. Coach Graham gets a job there, and by December, he's headed out to Arizona State. And I remember talking to the guy that was working with you at the time at Pittsburgh, and it's like, my gosh, man, you ain't even got your underwear unpacked. I mean, you're out of there. And so talk to us a little bit about that 3 year period. Tulsa, then all of a sudden you're headed to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which you've never probably been around that. And then all of a sudden you're going to a different part of the state as offense coordinator at Arizona State. 3 different total conferences. Talk to us a little bit about that 3 year period.
It was definitely wild, and I was married. Obviously Maria and I, my wife, she's from Fort Smith. We got married at UCA, went to school together, and really, when you go from UCA to Tulsa, when she's from Fort Smith, that's a great deal. I mean, you actually just got closer, just to being able to live. And so, I mean, our first 5 years of marriage, you were within 2 hours, and then, I'll never forget. Coach Graham got the call, and we had a great stretch of teams and a great run there at Tulsa. But I remember when he got the call to go be the head coach at Pitt. I mean, this is in January, and we move up to Pittsburgh, and it was different. I enjoyed my time there. It was a really good city, met some good people, but it was different. It was definitely a culture change. I remember that basically from probably from January until we got there till probably mid-May. I don't know if I saw the sun 2 days. I mean, it was raining, it was cloudy, it was cold. I mean, it was all the different elements. But I remember when Maria moved up there. I mean, it was just her first time being away from home, and so you got to work through that transition. But we go through the season. We're trying to establish a program, and then come December, it was one day, Coach Graham called me in his office and said he got a call from Arizona State, and then nothing was been settled, but he just and so I go on the road recruiting, and I think it was like that Tuesday. I'm in at Navarro. I'm in Texas recruiting a junior college your wide receiver, and I remember getting a phone call from Coach Graham. He says, "Hey, I need you in Phoenix tomorrow morning at before noon." And this is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you to think, well, I got to get to Pittsburgh and then to Phoenix. I mean, it was one of the craziest 24 hours. And he basically told me, hey, you're going to be my offensive coordinator there, so I need you to resign. I need you to get in Phoenix. We got to start working. We got to get recruiting and putting together a class. So remember, I flew back to Pittsburgh. I got with my administrative assistant. She got me back to Pittsburgh. Was there all night, basically packing up my desk. I, submitted my resignation, and then I was on the 6 o'clock flight going to Phoenix, and basically hit the ground. Was at Coach Graham's press conference, and we were putting together a staff and just moving forward. And so it was definitely a wild couple of years of how that all came together. But I mean, it was you definitely learned a lot through the experiences. But it was unique to say at the least.
Yeah. Well, and Coach, you take the reins at Memphis. And then one thing I tell people is, I was raised in Arkansas, but that year I GA'd for you in Memphis, that's when I grew up. And I look back at it now as a head coach, and I think, I was probably not the best graduate assistant. So I'm gonna get on the record and apologize for that. But going through your program as a young coach, you learned so much. And like our flight school today, our youth camp, we took so many things from the Memphis climb. We talked about our little details and intensity and what was brotherhood, we call family part of our flight. But talk to us about your time at Memphis and some of the special things that you did there.
Well, Bray, that want to, that desire, I mean, you are an absolute worker, and that's what we all have to learn. We all have to grow. When there's things you look back at, and you're grateful for the experiences when you probably did some things that weren't that good, but you were able to when you pour your heart into it, when you truly believe in trying to make an impact, you're going to grow from it. And so, I look back at my time at Memphis. I still par back to all those other experiences that I had. I think back to when I was at Tulsa, and even though I didn't know a whole lot, but I was willing to do the things necessary to be able to grow. And when I was with Gus, there's so many GAs that they get a job, and the task list of a GA is extreme. I mean, there's so many things that you have to do, and you can get caught up and saying, all right, well, this is what I have to do, right? And the job and the responsibility is to go be your best at doing that. Whatever you're asked to do, you got to be your best at it. But are you willing to still learn and grow? And so I remember whenever I was going through that, I never wanted to be doing busy work or even my task while the coaches were talking ball, because I didn't want to miss out on learning and absorbing and taking in all the information that I could. Because I probably went 7 months without ever being asked a question. Right. And I'm great with that. I wasn't in a position to ever be asked a question, but I also knew that if I was ever asked a question, I wanted to have a response that had been thought out, a response that had substance. And because sometimes you only get asked one question. And if you don't have any bearing in a response, then you might not ever get asked a question again. But I wanted to be able to have sense. And if I get asked, I want to give a real opinion. And so I would sit in, if Gus was ever meeting, if coaches, if there was ever a staff meeting, I was going to sit in that meeting, right, and make sure I absorbed the information. And then I would do the rest of my task, right, that I had to do, man, I would when everybody else left. And so, I mean, it was a sacrifice for the time, the investment into the job. I mean, it was extreme and all those things. But man, I was able to grow so much. And then when I went to Arizona State, I was the youngest offensive coordinator in the country. Coach Graham allowed me to hire, the offensive staff. And so I was able to go through a lot of those experiences. And I always tried when I was the OC to prepare as if I was the head coach, and I'll be honest, I didn't know for those first few years, I didn't know if I wanted to be a head coach. I loved just the kind of that side of the ball and just what I was doing. But then as I continued to kind of grow up and mature, I mean, you start seeing the importance of all decisions. You see the importance of being able to impact others on their journey and to be able to open doors. And so when I got the call to go to Memphis, I mean, it was the absolute right place for me. And there had been a couple other opportunities, but I get hired at Memphis, and I'm the youngest head coach in all of college football at the time. And you come in, and there's not like a what are the tips for what's the book that they have head coaching for dummies. So they didn't have that book, right? There's not, you don't get that. You get to go and experience. And basically, I remember I went to the interview at Memphis, and at the end of the interview, they offered me the job. And they said, "Well, we want you to be on the plane, right, tonight. We want to do the press conference tomorrow." Well, I at least had the sense to say, "Well, I'm not doing this unless Maria's and my daughter are there with me, for the introductory press conference." So I mean, so I called Maria. We talked, quickly talked about it. It was a quick yes, but then I was on a plane that night to Memphis, and so the next morning, I mean, you have all the things that are set up. You're going to do the press conference. You're going to meet with the team. You're going to, this is now your program. And essentially they get up and they introduce you and they say, go. And what you do from that point, I mean, is building everything moving forward. And so, and it was really, something that I look back on, and just like you could sit there and reflect back to your time as GA. I think back to those first few months and the first year of being a head coach. You're learning so much, and but I was fortunate to be around great people, and that's the thing that as I look back through this coaching journey, it's just the people that I've been able to meet, the relationships that I've been able to build upon, the guys that have helped impact me, and the guys that we've tried to help impact on their journeys. I mean, that's what makes it really special. And so I look back at that time, and with just the emphasis of every decision. I've told the story before, but when it came real for me, you go and you do the press conference, and I thought that went well. It was good. I thought we were able to put out the vision and the message for what we're doing. Meet with the team. I thought the team was excited, and then I remember coming back into my office, and my administrative assistant at the time, she asked me, "Well, Coach, what time do you want me to come to work tomorrow?" Because with Coach Fuente, I mean, he let me come in early and I could leave a little bit earlier, and this, that, and the other. And, at the time, I'm thinking about a million different things. I'm trying to hire staff, recruiting, who do we have on the team, all these things. The last thing I'm thinking about when anybody's coming into work. And so I said, well, just please show up. I don't care when you come in, just please show up. But the realization that regardless of whatever I said was going to impact her. It was going to impact her family. It was going to impact the things that she wanted to do. And so, I still remember, like, that's when it came real to me, is that, man, she's coming to me for a very simple question that's going to have a monumental, impact. And it's the same thing for every player, for every department, for all that you're doing as a head coach. And that's one of the things I really now embrace the responsibility, but all, it's one of those things that it's humbling that you've been put in this position, and you can't just go out there and just throw out a million responses because they're easy or they feel good. You got to understand the ripple effects to every decision that you make. And so I think back to that time at Memphis and just the growth that I got to work through, and the people that were there that helped impact me on this on this journey. I mean, it was really a special time. It was great getting back in the area, and being able to recruit the state of Arkansas, being able to be back in the kind of the Southeast. It was just wonderful for our family, and really been it was a blessing to be able to have the opportunity.
Well, I'm going to double off that, because let's go back to football a little bit. Your time at Memphis, you were at Arizona, and you're, let's throw it out there, spread, no huddle, doing all these different things. But you got to Memphis and y'all started really running the football. You had a great back and Tony Pollard looked up, and they're in two tights. You're running G scheme stuff. Talk to us a little bit how you evolved into that. You had great assistant coaches there at Memphis, but how did you, this is what's best for our team. Talk to us a little bit on the coaching part on this is what I've always done, but this is the best part for our team.
Yeah, I point a lot of that back to, some of those years at Arizona State, honestly. And I mean, it was, when probably a second, third, fourth year at Arizona State, that's really when the odd front, started getting a huge push. And, you're seeing all these, big four eyes, long edges, different angles, different ways of building combinations. So, I mean, there's only a handful of things you're going to do if you don't have a surface, if you don't bring a tight end, attach somebody. There's only a couple of things you're going to be able to do against that. when you're living in a spread world. And so kind of implementing that more and more, back into what we were doing, trying to look at the different variations. I mean, just kind of expanding that part of it. And I still look back. I was an offensive coach for a defensive head coach for
Yeah.
9 years. And I still think back to all the conversations of what defenses didn't like to face, and really building this offense, to attack that, and to attack, Coach Graham used to talk about these parameters that he always wanted to live in, and they're basically like 10 parameters. And it was an extreme it was an extreme list of things that you would be able to hit upon. But I still look back to some of those things that challenged me as a coach. And then when we got to Memphis, it was still, how can we tie this to the personnel that we have? And we had some really good receivers on the edge. We were able to create good angles. You had some tough kids that were gonna fight. Some great backs. I mean, just the running backs that we were able to have, and utilize their versatility of catching the ball out of the backfield, but also being able to keep that balance. Because I think it's important that every year is going to change throughout the course of every season. You don't know who you're going to have, who's going to be healthy, who's going to go down. But if you're just a one track offense of, hey, we're just going to throw it around all the time. Well, that's good until you lose, personnel on the outside, and or whatever that might be. So trying to keep a balance that you can always play to your personnel. And there's been years that we've thrown it around more than what we run it, but then I always want to be able to have that balance of being able to, and when you need it, you can put your hand in the dirt, and go get the dirty, do the dirty work and get those tough yards. And it's really helped us throughout the course of this offense evolving because of what we can do running the football.
Well, you're at Memphis and have great success. I mean, you really got that program going. I mean, it's nationally known. Game days at Memphis, you're on Bill Street. All of a sudden, Florida State comes calling, and let's kind of put it out there. And I can say it is Florida State. When you went in there, it was not Florida State with Bobby Bowden and Coach Fisher won a national championship, but it was far removed, and a lot of obstacles going into that deal. What was your process? Because you're going to research a job, and you knew the tradition, the ACC right there. They've won national championships, the athletes, and the program itself, but it wasn't just perfect going into it. Talk to us a little bit, making that decision going into Florida State and just the whole rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it always goes down, anytime you take a job, anytime you go to a new situation, it's got to fit.
Yeah.
You got to find the right fit that says, with what you want to be, what you want it to look like. I mean, it's got to fit the place, the people, kind of that tradition. And it really, Florida State is a special place. And you look at all the years with Coach Ballard and the continuity, just the consistency of what they were able to do. I mean, it was truly because of, the man that he was, the leader that he was, the guys and the teams that he was able to bring together. And it had fallen on hard times, and there had been a lot of change over the last few years. So we knew coming in, I mean, that we needed continuity, we needed consistency, and we had to get back to bringing putting together a program that kids, the community, that everybody was going to go buy into, of elevating it back to where it needed to be. And we knew it was going to be hard work, but there was some the coming in, wasn't expecting the challenge of COVID to show up, and so that was even that another big curveball to it. But it was because of the place. And I loved my time at Memphis, and I still tell people, like, there was it was going to be hard for me to leave there, because I was very, very, comfortable in the place, the people, just what it was. But I mean, this was a special opportunity, and to be able to come in here and to establish that foundation. And it really came down to the people that were here, from our president, the chairman of the board at the time. Every person that was a part of bringing me here was a Florida State student, been around it their entire life. They were a Seminole, and you could feel the passion of what they wanted and how they wanted it. Because here at Florida State, my job, I know what I have to do. We have to win. Like, there's no secret in that. But at Florida State, it's not just what you do. It's also how you do it. It needs to look a certain way. It needs to be a certain way. You gotta, in developing young men and who they're going to be off the field and just, the way that we play. And that is valued here. And it's really true to who I am. 'Cause I want a program that has an all-inclusive approach. And, when you look at the growth and the steps that we've taken, I mean, it's been across the board. I mean, last year, it was great to win the ACC. It was awesome, winning 13 games. We had 25 all-conference players, 10 draft picks, so many wonderful things on the field. Well, we also had, the best ever team GPA in program history. And so you see a group of guys that were willing just to pour in. They had a belief in just, being their best in all areas. And then that just starts becoming a part of the standard and the expectation. And, obviously it starts with the personnel and who you're bringing in, who are the leaders. I got a great staff. I got a great group of coaches that I get to do this with. And then, you making sure that you're finding the right fit in the players that you're bringing in. And as we've been able to grow and, through all the different dynamics in college football that have changed as well, just trying to have a real coordinated approach into the development of all these different areas, whether it's personnel, whether it's strength and conditioning, whether it's athletic training, just making sure that it is a cohesive family that as we're pushing together, and it's really it's worked well, and I'm really excited about where it can continue to go, and what's ahead for us this season.
Well, and you made great strides. I mean, obviously you got there, first year struggled with COVID, the whole 9 yards, and dealing with that is difficult enough. But you've made great strides, had a great season. You just built and built and built, and boom, last year, go undefeated in the regular season, have, lose your quarterback who was a great player. And I thought what was great about watching your team, you lost your quarterback and it would have been easy. You found ways to win at the end, the last one or two ball games. And that told me about your toughness of your team and the toughness of your program. But at the end of the day, you got the playoff deal and you're voted out. And and I was sitting there watching. I remember you just putting your hands in your face on television, and I'm feeling for you, but I'm thinking, we preach to our kids all the time. You do the right thing. You'd make it hard. Good things are going to happen to you, and the kind of exact opposite. How did you pick your kids back up and teach that life lesson? And as a coach, it's just a swallow. I mean, let's just get it out there. I mean, it's a kick in the gut, but I mean, any way you look at it.
It kicked you somewhere. I can promise that.
Yeah.
It was I mean, I remember people, asking me, what was I thinking? And I was, because I believe the same thing. And, what those young men did out on the field, I mean, it was special. And, I mean, every experience that we've had over the last few years, I think prepare you for what you're going to face and what you're going to have to do. And, you even go back to that first year, the challenges that showed up, it was, I mean, they were all real, but even starting the second year, I mean, we play opening night, we're playing Notre Dame, they're top 10 team. We go into overtime and it's come up short. And then, the next week have one of the worst losses I've ever been a part of. I mean, just, we start off 0-4 that season. And, nobody wants to be there. Nobody ever wants to have to go through that experience. But, our team, even through all of that, continue to fight, continue to improve, continue to get better. And I felt in the core of me that, man, we were about to take a step. And, you're sitting there at 0-4, you don't know why. You have no clue. I mean, a bad break here, this, that, whatever. But you just continue to believe in the work. You continue to believe in the progress of pouring everything in. And then all of a sudden you get rolling. We win 5 of the last 7. The next year we come back, we win 10 games. And then this last year, I mean, you go through and, it's hard to go undefeated. And, we were able to do that. And then even in the moment of, you lose our quarterback, Jordan, there in the 11th game. And, for our guys to see them come together, because that shows the identity of your team. That shows the character. I mean, anybody can act a certain way when it's 70 degrees and sunny outside. You're going to feel pretty good about all things, right? But when you get knocked down, when you face the real adversity, I mean, that response is so critical to the character of who you are. And I was just so proud of the way that our team, to go on the road, one of our biggest rivals, on the road, and to be able to get a win there. And then you play in the ACC championship, and we actually get down to our third string quarterback,
Yeah.
at the time, a guy that, really missed a lot of the season, even in practice because of an injury. And it was, but to go out there and to see our team just truly come together and to find a way, whether, we got in Wildcat, we did all different things. Our defense was remarkable, one of the best performances. That was one of the most gratifying wins I'd ever been a part of. And then, 12 hours later, you get, just, the weight of it all gets thrown when when you're told it wasn't good enough. And, and I mean, it was a gut wrenching moment. And, it had to take a second for it to go in, and you have your entire team there. And then, I'm coaching 18 to 22 year olds.
Yeah.
We're emotional, and we're all emotional, and it hurt, and it's sad and all those things. But I remember looking up and seeing some of the guys get up and start to leave in anger and frustration. And, that's where leaders have to lead, and you step up, you step out. And I told the guys, I said, look, what happened? It's not right. It's not fair. It's not, I don't, it's, something that nobody expected. But, yeah, I go, if you think this is the last time in your life that something not fair is going to happen, you're wrong. I mean, there's gonna be plenty of things in life that, man, just, that are going to happen to you that you're not going to be able to explain the why. But obviously where you go from it, what you go through it is going to help you for your future in some aspect, if you're just able to receive it all. And so we just continue to work. Obviously there was that was a unique circumstance. We had a lot of guys, like I said, 10 guys that were drafted this year, and had a lot of guys that chose to take that next step. And I mean, in some aspects, it was hard to blame them, just with the things that they had poured in. And it was a really just a most challenging experience I've had as a coach, to have to work through. But coming back into this January, I haven't needed any motivational speeches. I can tell you that. Our guys, they got the right edge. But even in that, I don't reference back to what happened in December to motivate what we're doing right now, because it's still about just going and being better, to go continue to grow, to control the things that we can control, and to go put our best foot forward. And I'm really excited about this team that we have going in this year. But it was definitely one of the toughest experiences, but it's one where as a coach, I've told this team since I got here, they know how to work. And hard work does not guarantee success. Right. And even though, however bad we want it to, just because you work hard doesn't mean you're going to be successful, but it does put you in the best position. And if you're willing to do that, then you'll be able to respond to whatever a result might be and continue to grow and get better. And that's what I'm seeing from this team. And, definitely excited about our path.
Well, good deal. Well, the Mouth here, he's big into, let's talk a little bit college football landscape. Go ahead, Mouth, because it's going everywhere. And see what we're trying to get everybody's expertise in this, so we'll kind of know what's going on. Go ahead, man.
There's no experts in this.
There you go. They don't call me the Mouth for nothing, because I have an opinion on everything. But first of all, before we get started, I want to tell you, college football is so much better when Florida State is a relevant program. That y'all were the gold standards of 80s, or 80s and mid 80s and 90s football, early 2000s. Coach, how do you see all this crazy time in college football working out now? In years of my lifetime, we never thought we'd see Oklahoma and Texas coming to the SEC, or Southern Cal going to the Big Ten, and Colorado going back to the Big 12. How do you think all this is going to shake out, and how will it affect our game?
Well, it's definitely a different age. And, when you see, the movement that's happened, a lot of it is, a lot of it's driven by, contracts and money, and, just these super conferences that are coming together. But it is sad in some sorts when you sit there and you look at, an entire conference basically or dissolving, they're in the Pac-12, a conference I was in for 4 years. Some of the great rivalries that the fact that, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are not going to be playing is just kind of mind blowing to me. But then, now you have the reconnection of, Arkansas and Texas. You have the reconnection of some of these, past rivalries that'll come back together. So, the game will always push forward, but it is definitely a different age. The fact that we're in the Atlantic Coast Conference and we have Stanford and Cal in the Atlantic Coast Conference is kind of just unique. But we added Rhett and the guys at SMU. That's there's expansion all over, but still just you're trying to find the best way to navigate this moving forward. I think is it's definitely unique, but the game will press on. And my biggest thing is just being able to keep it where it is. College football is just so very special. The fan bases, the passion, the pageantry of it. The rivalries of which which are so established deep within the states, the regions. The fan bases. I mean, that will be what carries it, but we have to maintain the purity of it as well. And I'm a big proponent. I think the fact that some of the things that are going on with NIL and the way that guys are being able to benefit from what they're doing. I do not see that as a bad thing. I think it's a good thing for student athletes. I think that now having the open transfers, where guys can go multiple times. I mean, it's just I'm not saying it's awful, but it's scary because there's a lot of things that you're going to see a lot of young men that lose track of what the educational experience, what the educational value of, being able to change the rest of their life by getting a college degree. And if you have kids that are going 2 to 3 different schools or, even beyond without a specific, plan and, maintaining that threshold. I mean, you're going to see some tough decisions, maybe because of poor guidance, maybe because of, maybe poor decision making. I know when I was 18 to 22, I probably made some poor decisions, in just in some of those, those things that you think are good, but maybe in the long run and, are not maybe the best step or the best path. But, it's just, those are the things that bring fear to all of the changes, but, I mean, ultimately it's, the game is going to continue to help push us forward and, keeping the purity of that, of, just the great passion and, the love of what college football is we're going to find a way through it all.
Well, let me ask you this, kind of turn this. And I thought your program did as good a job as anybody when the portal hit and, that part. How are you building your roster now? I mean, obviously you went heavy portal for a little bit. What's the balance with high school portal guys? What we're doing here?
I mean, there's a lot of, it comes up that, when you look at the numbers, we're still about 65% high school signees. Really? And, but people look at us and they say, well, I know, well, we've just gotten the right guys from the portal. We've gotten guys that have come in and made an incredible impact. I think we've had a great balance within the development of our roster. And, for us, it's just about finding the right fit. I mean, there's some programs out there that they're just signing portal guys, or they're just, it's so, or, some programs are just signing high school guys. And that's, everybody gets that decision on what they want it to look like. I think for us, it's about finding the right fit, the right composition that, what is the need to build the best team. I'm not one of these coaches that think it's just talent acquisition, and that recruiting is, you can go find a lot of talented guys, but if they don't fit, if it doesn't, they're not going to come together. It's still to me about building a culture, building a team that loves and cares and is willing to work and you'll fight for and with each other. It's just, that's what makes football great. And, that's what we've tried to have a focus on. And, we've had a lot of different paths. It kind of goes back in the 10 years ago, 7-10 years ago with junior college players.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of programs out, they're not going to recruit a junior college player because they had this perception of what that was. Man, we've had some incredible junior college players that came in that were great young men that were wonderful for our program that, were able to get their degree and go play in the National Football League that, but they were the right fit for us. So it's still ultimately everybody's got their own path, and how you get to a place, but as long as you have the mindset, the heart, the character that fits the place, I mean, I think you can have great success. So we've had a really good balance in that. People ask, what what is that going to look like moving forward? I'd like to tell you, but in today's age, the roster management has changed as much as anything else. And it's even, I talked about the coordinated approach. I think it was 2 years ago, we hired a general manager. Derek Ray's our general manager that helps in all things just personnel, because that department has just the importance of it, and the advanced scouting, the being able to have awareness of you'll sit there in the portal season, and you'll have hundreds. I mean, there's days there were thousands of kids that would go into the portal in a day, and you're trying to work through that to try to see, all right, well, who's going to be the right fit for us from a talent, from a size, schematic, approach, or what you want to do, and a need that you might have. And then you got to make sure that they are actually going to fit the character part of it. And so it's all the information that goes into it is, and it's pretty wild, but it's going to be ever changing, and we're just going to continue to be true to who we are. And I think we've done a good job with it up to this point, and continue to building it better.
Well, I got 2 questions for you left. Talk to us a little bit about your team. You're you're going to be in the mix for that, expanding the playoffs and that part. So you're not sitting with the situation you had last year. Expand the playoffs, which I think really helps you guys. Obviously, talk to us a little bit about your team. You're going to be in the mix here this year. And
I'm excited. I'm excited about this team. We are, as you look at the work they put in, winter program, spring ball. It's the strongest and fastest team that we've had. Wow. And we've got 80 guys that have been within the program. Some guys that haven't played, some guys that have been within the depth, that are now emerging as that next star you'll hear for Florida State. And it's exciting, because I see the way they work. I see the way that we've been able to bring this team together. We've had some newcomers that have come in, whether it's high school, guys that have transferred in, I think will be really good players for us. Some guys that have really developed and now are in their 3rd and 4th year within the program, and I think are ready to take an elite step. And so I'm excited about this team. I think we're going to have really good depth, great competition. I think our skill position players we've got some dynamic playmakers. You look at this last year, especially like at wideout. We had Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman. Two mountains of men that are out there on the perimeter. And we're going to look a little different, but I mean, we got a receiving core that can absolutely run, can stretch the field. We've got a great running back room. Our offensive and defensive lines, I think, is going to be the strength of our team. Which whenever that's the case, you're going to have a shot. Really like our quarterback room. I think is a great mix with DJ transferring in. Brock Glenn, who is got some experience late in the year. I mean, very talented young man. We have a true freshman that I think is going to be a star in the future. I mean, really, really excited about just what that room, the competition is. And it's exciting to see the work this team has put in, and now they just get to go do it. But it's it's the discipline, it's the details, it's the execution in the moment, and that's as a coach, that's what you always love to see.
Well, Coach, I'm gonna get you off here. Let's end with this. You got to give us a story. Well, everybody will get on here a crazy football story. You got to think about it being your playing career or when you're coaching. Some behind the scenes. Just give us one, because I can tell a few on you, but I'm gonna let you tell them a little bit.
Oh Lord, I picked the wrong guy. When it comes to story time, I'm not real Brady, give me a story that I should tell.
He's running around here.
Oh, he went to go.
He's camping right now.
He's chasing the campers.
But, I mean, you got to have Todd Graham's story, Gus' story. I mean, you got to have something out there. I mean, there's got to be something going on there.
Oh Lord, but I'll say that it is amazing how things emerge. And I know Rhett sharing a little bit of the story of how that all came together with with he and I being a Charlotte Christian. And I think back to like Eli. Eli was at Springdale, I think, at the time, and he would come over when I was at Tulsa as a GA, and we're sitting there talking and sharing ideas. They'd come over for team camp, and then as you fast forward, to this December, I mean, we're Eli, Rhett, and myself are all sitting at the Bear Bryant award show, and we're sitting there, and just you think about the path, you think about and we sent a picture to Gus, and just it's that the time of appreciation, when you sit there and you think about, man, how I would have never be in my wildest dreams, thought I'd get a chance to be the head coach at Florida State. There was no path to ever get there. But I think of, Don Struben, Bo Embry was actually the guy that vouched for me as well to Gus about, being able to,
Yeah.
that I might have
Uncle Bo. We get Uncle Bo on here quite a bit, man, during
Oh,
high
good.
school football. So we get Uncle
I
Bo
gotta-
on here quite
I
a
got
bit.
I got to give Bo a shout out because he did. He told Gus that I'd be worth taking a shot on. And but you sit there and you think about just how how everything's unfolded from those days, and just that now, like, even with jumping on with Bray and seeing that he's now a head coach, and somebody I got to work with, and maybe a couple of things that we do within the program that are impacting those kids, and that's what makes the journey worth it. And I'm definitely fortunate. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot of great stories. I tried to I would say this one, and Gus has probably told something to this a lot. When I was a GA, working for Todd, he actually, he could go. I mean, he was gonna work.
Coach Graham, pretty intense guy, man.
Yeah,
Pretty
and
intense.
we're there during the summer, I think, at one point, and and Coach Graham kind of just said in some staff meeting, he goes, "Man, these GAs, they don't need to leave till I leave." And which I wouldn't say that I was ever leaving before he was leaving, or any of us. We were all working pretty good, but so I think it's that next day. I mean, we're sitting there and just working away, and there's only 2 GAs at the time, maybe 2 or 3, and we're getting to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and his truck's still there, so there's nobody leaving, and so about 6 o'clock in the morning, Gus is coming in. He looks at me and I look like hell. I mean, I'm sure just look awful. And he goes, "What are you?" I go, "Man, Coach Graham didn't leave." And so Gus goes to Coach Graham and he's like, "Coach, I mean, you told the GAs." He goes, "Well, I stayed here last night because Coach Graham would bring his blow up mattress and he would just stay there." Well, he didn't tell nobody else. He just made the statement that GAs aren't going to leave until I leave. But I guess if he didn't go, we weren't going to go. So it was one of those things that, man, you try to push to be your best, and you follow what the head coach is asking. But boy, that communication is critical.
That communication is a big one, don't that? Well, we'll get you off here. You're a great example of there's always somebody watching you, how you're working, and how you treat people. And you've always been an extremely hard worker, organized, and you've always treated people really well. And I think that's why you're sitting in that seat where you're at now. And like I said, we're a big fan of you. We keep up with you every week, and you've got through Arkansas, you got, Trees, Bray sitting here and different guys. And there's not many places I go where your name doesn't get brought up, or Mike's doing good. You've watched Mike, and it's just really cool to watch a lot of you guys sitting in the staff room at UCA in 2005 or whatever to where you're at now, or 4, I don't remember when it was, 6 or something like that, but where you are at now, it's just amazing. Well, Mike, man, we appreciate you coming on, taking time with us. It's awesome. Hey, good luck to you this year, and we'll be following you.
I definitely appreciate it, and it definitely, Arkansas has made such an impact on my life to be able to be there at UCA. Obviously, I married a girl from Arkansas, and I'll say this: the coaches in Arkansas have been just remarkable. And I mean, from whether it's Bo, I can sit there and go through just a laundry list of guys that I still stay in contact with to this day. And, just genuine, down to earth people, just that, you just want to see each other do well. And, that's why, it's always be, a home for me. And, I just definitely am grateful for the opportunity to come on and share a little bit about the path. But, you guys keep doing what you're doing, and definitely look forward to seeing you soon.
Well, we'll have you back on down the road. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you,
See you, John.
Coach.
See you, Mike.